Hello, Olivera.
Well, hello. How are you today?
I'm always good.
So good
Yourself?
to hear. Very well. So good to see you today, Eugene.
Yes, that's great to hear from you. Um, Without much introduction, I would like us to talk about AI, the buzzword right now. This innovation interrupting the industries like never before. And humans, we are rewriting history. So when we talk about AI, what actually is AI?
Yeah, we're talking about artificial intelligence. And we're going to go into some, basics and review what AI is. And essentially, AI is artificial intelligence that is learning. And it is, there are different types of AI. The AI that I work in is conversational AI, which is all about building AI agents such as chatbots and voice bots, whether that be public facing, enterprise, or even our own personal AI assistants. And there's a lot to unpack in terms of AI. And as far as conversational AI, I'd love to tell you a little bit about myself and what drew me to it. So I was in marketing for a long time. And actually, I started in customer service back in my college days when I went to Ontario College of Art and Design. And at that time, I was working as a customer service agent at CIBC near the Lawrence West Mall. And why that's a relevant story, because I was helping with an emerging technology of the time, which was telephone banking. And I believe CIBC was the first one to have telephone banking. And I was helping humans to learn how to use this telephone banking to pay their bills and so on. And I think it's like for our young people, one of the best jobs to learn from is like customer service, because I can say that from experience, it's really informed my work, my philosophy, just to be customer service oriented. And also, I didn't know and I didn't anticipate that that very experience would eventually circle back into the work I do today, couple of decades later. And so it's very meaningful to me to talk about that because it does inform, understanding humans and how to help them is what it boils down to, whether it's human to human or machine to human, right? So we keep it simple in terms of like being empathetic, being responsible. These are the cornerstones of AI. And so we want to teach AI to have all the best human skills and qualities. And so right out of the gate, AI has been trained, but by a group of people that has not been diverse, has lacked diversity. So these are the challenges. And as we are still in the relative infancy of AI, we still have the opportunity to shape it. It's a cliche, like shape it like an infant. And so we do have, the capability of doing that every day when we're interacting with AI, whether that be ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, and so on. We have the opportunity with the questions we ask and the information we give it, we're shaping it incrementally. Right? And the more voices, the more diverse voices, genders, culturally, linguistically, and so on, will inform a broader audience and a better data set. And so when we're talking about, for example, enterprise AI for companies, they're going to look at a data set for their users, right? And so we're going to see probably a mix in demographic, but we're going to have some maybe some power users, maybe some occasional users. We're going to have new users. They're all going to have certain attributes, if you will, that they look for, in products and also have use cases that they most often use, right? So we're looking at the business end. We need to fulfill some kind of business requirements when we're building for enterprise, but we, number one, have to solve for real human problems, right? If I want to open a checking account, do I go to the bank? Do I call? Do I interact with an AI? Do I write a letter? What is the quickest and fastest way? And so COVID has really expedited, the use of AI and assistance, just by the fact that there was that pandemic and that we needed to be, working from home, getting, for example, our banking done now more from home than we would be going to an ATM or whatnot. And so the need for apps and for voice assistants and so on and chatbots has really, accelerated. And then especially because since November of 2023, when OpenAI started with ChatGPT and so on, and all the others followed, has really accelerated that need, and now it has democratized AI, and which is amazing, right? On the other hand, there's environmental factors where each time I ask a question to ChatGPT, there may be something like a bottle. Not 100% sure if that's accurate. A bottle of water. There's something in there. So each time I go in there, do I really need to ask Chat? Each time I ask my iPhone a question, it asks me, do I want to ask ChatGPT? And I think that's a really good thing that they added, because I don't need to ask ChatGPT for everything. And so I'm just going to pause there because I want to circle back on, I was in customer service and marketing for a long time. And then my marketing expertise also informs the work I do in AI, because I understand the audience, understanding user needs, building GUIs, graphical user interfaces, is what I've done in my past career. That also informs my work as a conversation designer. That is my role. There are different names for the work I do. It could be VUI designer, voice user interface designer. It could be product designer that does conversational AI. So there's different titles. It's not standardized, but it all boils down to creating experiences between human and machine. And what does that experience look like? And especially, I know we want to talk about trust today. And that is our topic, isn't it?
Yes, it's very true. And thanks for the opportunity to chip in trust. So, first of all, before we move on to trust, I want to listen from you and also the audience, talk to them the distinct difference between conversational AI and generative AI.
Okay, very good question. And so generative AI is generating content. It is a large language model, a small or large. It's taking averages of information. It doesn't, come up with new information. It is working with whatever information it's given, and it's taken averages of that information. And so the way you speak to it the way you instruct it is going to really have an impact on what you get from it, right? Just like if I were to ask you today, could you give me the directions to arrive at the podcast studio, right? Versus if I said, what is the most interesting way of arriving to the podcast studio? You're going to give me two different answers as a human being. And so is the AI, right? So the way I speak to it and the art of instructions. It's the art and science of instructions, right? And if I gave the same instructions across all the different AIs, I will give a different answer, right? And that's because it's drawing on different data sets and it's built differently. So I don't know all of the ins and outs of all the AIs, and I don't pretend to, but I don't need to, because it's just accelerating and, at such an alarming rate that it is fine. It is just the nature of the beast. And so for anyone, that apprehension about getting into AI because it's moving too fast, it's okay. It's just the nature of the beast. Like anything that is a fast-moving field, we just have to accept it, and we just have to take daily actions that are doable and manageable for our learning, right? And there are so many different ways, like video and written and all different types of content that is suitable for different learning styles, and that you can ask ChatGPT, what created slides for me to learn this, because that's how I learn best. So you could ask it to create, different types of content that's suitable to you. And so conversational AI, generative AI means it's generating content. Conversational AI is overarching. It's above generative AI because it's like generative AI is within the conversational AI bracket, if you will, or umbrella. And so when we're talking about, for example, creating enterprise level chatbots or voice bots, we are most likely looking at a hybrid approach where we have the LLM generative AI piece and we have the other piece, which is it's very static information and static experience. And why that is because we want certain content, we can afford certain content to be generated. Let's say, for example, I would not want the address of a company, like the address of this podcast, to be generated. There's only one way to say the address. There's no 10 ways to generate the postal code, for example. You want it to be 100% accurate. So that's an example of the type of content that you don't want the LLM to touch. So in my prompt, I would instruct it on the kind of what content I would want it to generate and, to have variability and variety, and what content I want it to be verbatim. So as a prompt engineer and designer, I'm overseeing that whole experience and I'm choosing the content that I have. If it's handed to me by a client, I'm going to first ask the client, can they optimize the content, right? According to like best practices, like consistency, clarity, all of the different things we want to do to optimize content. And then they're going to go pass it through. We're talking about spreadsheets for managing content, right? Or some kind of content management system, right? If not a spreadsheet. And then from there, I would take it over and I would finesse that content, that across the board, it is consistent, right? It is well written. It's written according to tone and personality of that brand. That's why my marketing experience is so relevant, because the brand and the tone of a company is very important, because from a consistency point of view, you want to be speaking in a consistent way to the consumer. So far, so good?
Yeah. So I want to ask this question, right? To you, what does trust mean in building the conversational AI in healthcare?
Okay. What does trust mean in building conversational AI in healthcare? It means, first of all, let's just keep it really simple. Trust is trust, right? Between you and I, between two human beings, between groups of human beings, trust is trust. And that defines our lives, right? And it works for us or against us, right? When there's lack of trust or there is trust, and there's shades in between, right? And so when we talk about trust, it is absolutely the cornerstone of human relationships, right? And respect, trust and respect. And so when we're talking about establishing trust and maintaining trust between human to human, right? And same goes between human to machine, and that being in an industry such as healthcare or any industry, but particularly healthcare, given we're talking about people's health and well-being. And in particular in healthcare, as somebody, that knows about healthcare, that's worked in healthcare, what I can say is that it's very important, because in any patient dealing with any kind of health situations, they generally tend to be on the stress side. So to begin with, our typical user is already stressed, right? So that's our out of the gate. So, is it a new user, or have we an established trust with them? Or are we dealing with a new client who's maybe there's broken trust? How do we repair that trust? How do we maintain existing trust, right? These are questions I ask every day in my work.
Apologies for interfering. I want to ask a question. You talked about the broken trust.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know how you are able to detect a broken trust within the system.
Very easily we have words that we detect. There's a list of profanities that we can detect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's such a thing as natural language understanding. That's part of AI, NLU. And natural language understanding, that means that the system, that being the back end of that voice bot or chat bot, is looking for words to understand to match to its data. And that's what, that's how the machine understands the human, by a match. And that's what we call, something called intent matching in bot analytics, because we are looking at analytics and we're tracking every day, and we're doing, there's reports that happen, and there's constant eyes, whether by myself or the team. There's a team. A typical team is a product owner or project manager. There is a conversation designer like myself. There's or a conversational copywriter. There is a developer. There's a solution architect, and there's most definitely a bot analyst. Sometimes a team of bot analysts. And sometimes bot analysts can be also the conversation designer. It's like 2 in 1, depending if it's a startup or something like that. So with those analytics, such as intent matching, that means we're matching. That means the system was able to match to the intended intent of the user. And so we want to make sure we understand them, and we have matched what they want to what we have. And that allows us to then walk them through the experience to get to what they need. Right? And so when we're talking about broken trust, we can track conversational scripts, right? We trap the data, we're tracking the scripts. When they start free typing, that's our gold mine, right? Maybe they're just venting. Maybe they're having a bad day. That's okay. We can detect their frustration. And so we want to go into those, like, okay, take 5 scripts, right? And let me study the end-to-end experience of this person. What did they go through? Did they come into the experience waiting on their cancer test results, right? Did they come into that? Which means that, they probably had some sleepless nights, and they're probably like at their ends wit. So, we have to apply very empathy.
Yeah. Okay. I want to do a follow-up question again on that.
Sure.
So that we can elaborate on it.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that patients, or let's say clients,
Yeah.
these people are being heard?
Yeah.
And not just heard, and respected in this conversational design?
Yes. Great question. I love this question because it's all about using the things that you and I in conversations tend to take for granted, right? I give you an example. If I'm a frustrated user that, is waiting these cancer test results, right? And my life is hanging in the balance. I have children, I have aging parents, and I have a job and all these things. And there's a potential of me having cancer and taking time off and not being able to pay my mortgage and things like that, right? When all these things are in the back of my mind, I don't necessarily bring all of this to my chatbot experience. But if I were to take a moment like right now, I could get into their, put myself in their shoes for a moment and empathize. And empathy means that we can have an empathetic response. That response is the best when it's as few turns as possible and the most efficient. I want to get that result now. Yes, it's nice to have some empathetic words in there. It makes a difference, right? But the bottom line, I want my results. And maybe the best thing would be to escalate them to a human agent.
Okay, human agent.
Yes, maybe in these kinds of, highly sensitive cases, maybe human agent is the best for them and the most empathetic approach instead of putting them through any machine interaction.
But when I heard of the human agent, it came to my mind that people right now with like foresight of the unknown of how and what AI is unfolding in the years ahead. They don't know whether their jobs are being replaced by it, like how it's being described by World Economic Forum about the automation, the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and in the sense that you are talking about referring it to a human agent, but mostly these conversational AI is in there to make sure that like costs are being cut,
Yeah.
and also they are taking off human errors. And at times too, I don't know, I've never been in the customer service before, but there are certain times that people cannot be like no there 24/7. But with these automation and these sophisticated innovations, it can actually respond to every request that is put in, or let's say questions that is being asked or chat. So do you think that AI is truly coming to replace most of the jobs?
No, definitely not. I think I think that there's going to be some jobs that are going to be replaced, especially those ones that have supportive roles. Like, let's say, maybe it's more like admin work, right? That doesn't necessarily really require a human being, because a human beings, what they do best is that complex work that requires empathy and complexity. Managing complexity is far easier for a human, right? Whereas it's accelerated by AI, because now I don't have computational brain that can, some people do. I don't, right? That can, crunch 10 annual reports and spit out a table in less than 5 seconds, right? That's what I mean. Like, if that admin is working in a law firm today, that admin is keeping their job if they're learning the AI skills to crunch those reports and bring it to their, the partners of that law firm.
Okay.
Right? So women are in many supportive roles, much more than men, right? Secretary, admin, data clerk, data entry, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So more women will suffer from the shift in AI.
Wow.
But if they acquire the skills that they can acquire for free, they can accelerate and augment the existing work that they do and keep the job. They can showcase, wow, I may be doing admin, but now I've learned how to prompt ChatGPT to help us create a weekly report for, I don't know, our weekly status meeting. Suddenly it's automated and it's cut down 10 hours of my work. Now it's freed up to do 10 hours of more complex and strategic work for her. And now she can move up. So it's not, there will be jobs that will shift, but more jobs will be created by AI.
Really?
And will augment existing jobs if people are willing to learn, right? And so we are stepping back. We are in the information age. And so we are of the times. And to stay of the times, we must adapt. Like, as cavemen, our technology was fire, making a fire. That didn't exist. We invented it. While fire exists, making it was a technology human beings did. And did any of us, when we were cavemen, say, well, you're going to lose your job if you don't learn how to make a fire? No, we made it and we moved on. We weren't so egomaniac to think, oh, we were going to lose our jobs. We can find a job tomorrow if we just try a little.
Yeah.
So we're not worried about that.
All right. I would like us to talk about the role of inclusivity in AI.
Okay.
So, could you explain this
Sure.
in depth? And if you think that, I don't want to kind of like put words in your mouth. Try and express what
Yeah.
you think about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, inclusivity, I always go to the basics of the word, right? Including many voices at the table, right? That means like variety of voices, linguistically, culturally, racial, and so on, right? And so diversity is inclusivity, right? Including people, making them part. That means like our data set should be representative of our audience, right? If I'm targeting, retirees, retired women that may be at risk of cancer, then my data set should represent that. It shouldn't be, I don't know, like men that are, young men or something like that, right? It should be representative of the audience. And so we have to look at that we are looking at the right data set for that audience. And so inclusivity means also is like how the experience is it inclusive? Because conditions change. Conditions are constantly changing. So what during the experience, me as a machine talking to a human being, I want to make sure that I'm always aware of changing conditions, especially in a volatile, in changing industry like healthcare, because my health is changing every day. And so my condition is probably changing too every day. So as an AI agent, I want to be anticipatory. I want to be proactive. And I want to be personalized. And so when we're talking about these cornerstones of being personalized and proactive and anticipatory, that builds trust, and trust builds inclusivity, and inclusivity builds trust, right? So that we want to make sure that with personalization, hi Eugene, oh, funny seeing you here today again, right?
Yeah.
It knows you were here already. You got already your checking balance, or maybe you checked the status of your medical record. So you're checking back to find out if there's been any change to your status, right? And so now, it already knows that. So it's not going to ask you all the same questions as before, because you already got those answers. And I'm going to ask, what else can I help you with? Here are some of the topics I can help you with. Right? So it's going to really try to support you and try to take the thinking out from you, right? So to be supportive in that experience. And that helps you, because then if you haven't thought about some of the other things that you may want to ask or you need to ask on your medical condition, right? If I have cancer and I'm waiting for the status, maybe I want to ask about, okay, maybe I'm not ready yet to think about the things that I would do if I find out that I have cancer, because I'm not at that stage yet. No, I don't want to have to start thinking about maybe the right foods to eat, because I haven't even come to terms with having cancer. So I have to understand where the patient is in their journey. And so every single person matters. When we're talking about, I remember when I got into conversation design and I was studying with Conversation Design Institute, and the whole thing is aim for 80% of the users. That's a good number, and it is. But when you're dealing with a company of 20 million people, 20% represents a lot of people.
A lot of people.
That's not small.
Yeah.
So we have to account for everybody. That's percentage of your, $1 million people audience is big, is what I'm getting at. And so we have to account for everyone, right? Every person matters, every person's experience. And I can tell you that even changing one word will change the level of engagement. So asking, what can I help you with? What can I assist you with? Versus asking, what do you need help with?
Okay.
It's two different things. And it's going to have two different engagement levels. Which one do you think will engage more? If you were to hazard to guess. So I'm going to repeat it. What can I help you with? What do you need help with today?
What do you need help with today?
Yeah. Which one will be more engagement, number 1 or number 2?
Two, to me.
Great answer. Yes. Because, why do you think?
It's more specific and it's asking of today.
Yes, today.
Yes. No, there is a day in it.
Yes.
And it's more kind of like needing details.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I want to add also another point is that it's about what do you need help with. It's not about what I can help you with.
Okay.
It's a distinction. The things I can help you with may not be ones that you need help with. So we're really being user-centric. It's about you. Even saying the you word matters because it puts the focus on your person. So the words really matter. And also the turns, how many turns in the conversation? And is there friction in the experience, right? Are there pauses? Are there gaps in the experience? There are certain things I look for, right? And so we want to be mindful of every word, every question, and every answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. It's very entertaining. Like, I enjoy listening to you more.
Thank you.
And not just listening with care. And it brings a lot of, questions to my mind. So the question that was kind of brooding in my thought was that in a highly regulated environment like healthcare, how do you navigate trust and compliance?
Yes. So what we're looking at, healthcare is a
Yes.
highly regulated industry. And so that means that it is especially important that we care and take care working in such an industry. So we have to respect people's privacy for their medical records and data. That's number 1. And so we always start with a disclaimer at the beginning. Every organization has a privacy statement, and we provide that. And that is what we do. We have to be transparent with our customers, our human beings, right? Others, because transparency is the cornerstone of trust. So we have to inform them, hey, this is the privacy policy. Here's the link, right? We may even ask them to check and agree, so that they have
Consent.
consented. So, because we need consent, right? That's another cornerstone of trust is consent. So we're talking about privacy. We're talking about consent. We're talking about clear communication, right? We have to be clearly stating what we understand the user wants. And this is called explicit confirmation in conversation design. There's implicit and explicit. Implicit means it's implied, and it's for those use cases that don't have a high risk factor.
Yeah.
If I'm just asking for some general information versus if I'm asking for a confirming how much money I transferred. I want it to be explicit. I want to know that $1,500 was transferred, let's just say. I don't want to just know that it was transferred. So explicit means that it's transparent and it's specific and accurate. The user has to know that what is being done is going to be accurate. And that's how we maintain trust. So I think when it comes to building trust in healthcare, we have to talk about transparency. We have to talk about consent. We have to talk about maintaining trust and building relationship, right? When we go to the doctor, our family doctor, we're building that relationship, right? It may be the first appointment. There's usually an intro, from the doctor, an intro from the patient, and there's some forms to be filled, whether there be paper forms or an AI form, and so on. So, and then from there, there's a physical exam, right? So that's trust, right? You're trusting that doctor to physically examine you, right? Or you're trusting that company to deal with your medical records, right? Oftentimes, like with healthcare, especially conversational AI, medical records is one of the most important things, right? That they remain safe and private. And so handling of those records is, that there's certain ways to make sure that the privacy is kept, right? And so we always want to make sure we have ways to ensure that, basically.
That's great. So I want to ask this question.
Sure.
So when you hear of AI in healthcare,
Yeah.
what truly excites you about it?
Yeah. What excites me right
And,
away.
and also at the same time, what makes you more nervous and cautious?
Okay, got it. What excites me is being able to examples like detect, conditions, and preventative health. That's an example. There's so many examples of fantastic, AI products out there in healthcare. Like the list is long, including from Canada, right? I think that's a podcast in itself there.
Yeah.
So, preventative health, being able to detect conditions, being able to manage conditions, being able to be informed about conditions, and so on. All of this is really exciting to me and life changing, right? And then in terms of like concerns is like data leaks, company leaked medical records. That's a huge concern, right?
Because my apologies for interfering.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to kind of chip in that.
Yeah.
In the healthcare industry, where we have hospitals having the EHR.
Yeah.
Don't you think that once they have this relationship, whether being first degree relationship with these pharma or biotech industries, they can kind of release these data sets or data points to these pharmaceutical sectors without their knowledge of let's say patients or their clients.
So do you mean like doctors releasing medical records to pharmaceuticals without the consent
of
clients? That's against the law.
But I'm just kind of curious about it. Don't you think that at times they can harvest these data certain point from doctors, let's say hospitals, behind the scenes? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
all kinds of things happening behind the scenes.
We are humans, no?
Yeah. There's things happening behind the scenes all the time, right? And I think there is more, there's just more and more demand from the public to be accountable. And because sooner or later that catches up with companies, and so ultimately in the long run, it does affect them and it short circuits because it's not a long-term strategy to mess with people's trust. It's not a long-term strategy. If we don't get into the discussion about COVID and vaccines and what happened with that whole fiasco, and I have strong feelings about that, and we went through that. It wasn't that long ago. It says a lot about pharmaceutical companies and the political scene. And, it tells us that we have a voice. The people have a voice. We're here to talk, with the people, for the people. And we're here to share and have a dialogue about AI and, and bring it down to the practical every day, because it affects us, all of us. Healthcare affects everyone. We are so lucky in Canada that we have free healthcare, right?
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but we have, a great advantage compared to other countries. And today I have to go to the doctors later, and I have my OHIP card. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I can just go to the walk-in clinic and and people take that for granted, right? And in the States, like as I was telling you, I have a very good friend. For one day, she was on the bus, she felt a lump in her throat. Next thing you know, she's at the doctor's office. They're telling her it's early thyroid. She has to wait 6 months before having a biopsy, because those are the rules. She flies out to the US. She pays $2,000 US to get that biopsy. Then it's confirmed she has it. She must do the surgery right away. She got the surgery right away. And a woman in the next hospital bed, she had the surgery 6 months later and had far more serious side effects, life loss side effects as a result.
Wow.
Because she couldn't afford that test in Canada. So it's not perfect, right? There is an alternative that you can pay for. It's not perfect. And, for those that can't, at least they will be able to get a free surgery, even if it is 6 months, but it's not ideal. It could be better. And you and I here to make Canada's healthcare better.
Better, yes. To build a one strong Canada again, like Kanye says. And also, there have been rumors circulating around that the data set, and these data points in AI mostly is white men who are in North America here. I don't know whether you have had the opportunity to hear or come across or encounter this information that is being disseminated like in the air. So I want to hear of yours, like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know there's like, I don't know all the details, but I believe it's one of the big tech companies, and their data sets was all like based on aging white males. And so they're only hiring them and not many women, right? And so already in tech, there's not many women. So we want to encourage women. We want to encourage people from different cultural and linguistics, diverse background to like participate. Even, us having dialogues is so important. Everyday dialogues are so important because they inform our choices, and our outlooks. And then that trickles down on different things we do in the everyday, who I see, where I go to the doctors, what medical decisions I make in my everyday. Am I going to use, you might introduce me to a medical AI assistant suddenly that helps me get information, that makes me healthier, prevents disease, blah, 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 right? So the more awareness, we're doing kind of an awareness campaign here. We're just like talking, how can we leverage technologies in a meaningful way? And to create better outcomes for people. And there's so many, conditions we're dealing with. My mom has Parkinson's. My dad has rheumatoid arthritis. And my mother's had two cancers, right? So that's his close to home. And so that means, my brother, I have huge respect for him. He's their primary caregiver. So kudos to my brother. But what I want to say is that we all have either ourselves or someone in our direct family or friends that has either cancer or some kind of a digestive, health problem. Something's wrong. And so what are we doing about it on a day-to-day level? I'm a yoga practitioner. It's my way to prevent and create better outcome for me, right? My yoga teacher said, like, okay, your parents had cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, Parkinson's. Now you have to do more yoga, right? You have to practice it. You have to prevent that for yourself, right? And so what does yoga do? It makes our cells sharp so that there's no room for cancer cells, right? So these are the kinds of things. Parkinson's is a stress-related disease. So managing my stress, right? Not not limited to yoga, but just taking care of my emotions, right? Checking in on myself every day emotionally, physically, right? Financially, all of it, right? We need all of it.
Yeah,
It's
health.
not one thing.
Yeah. So this just came into my mind about the WHO constitutional definition of health, that
Yeah.
being holistic from mental, emotional and social well-being of the person. So you agree to that one?
Yes.
Oh, that's fine. And before we end this conversation for today's podcast, right, I want to ask you, how should AI be used, as a tool or as a person? And most people have this perception of it being a demon,
Demonizing. Okay.
demonizing it.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from you and the audience to want to
Right.
listen,
Yes.
so that they can connect and understand and get germs out of
Yeah.
your
Right. Well,
opinion.
yes. So I think the demonizing thing, I think, is a tendency when human beings are not well informed. It's the black and white thinking, right? Extreme. We living in polarized time with politics and different things, right? So there's a tendency already to go that way, and to instead of having dialogues, to blame things, right? So we're shifting from blaming and demonizing and these like extreme thinking to having dialogues, right? And seeing things in shades of gray and understanding things. We can make generalizations, but we also have to, be cautious with generalizations and say, yes, there are certain stereotypes and there are certain cliches, and they exist there because they're to some extent real. But we also have to educate ourselves, and we have to reflect on our thinking. We have to understand and cultivate some mindfulness in our own thinking.
Oh, that's very great. So to you, you think that we can use AI to
Yes. Yes.
advance in a positive way that
Correct.
will benefit humanity, right?
Yes, we have to be mindful, like with any tool. I can use a kitchen knife to murder someone, or I can make it to food for 100 people.
Well,
So which one is it going to be, AI? Am I going to get educated on the do's and don'ts? Or am I just going to, mess around with it mindlessly and feed it a bunch of, bad stuff? Well, already, somebody was messing with AI and they asked it to create something that is very bad for humanity. And it's probably not the last person that did it. And they fed that to it. Well, why did you do that? Why did you put it in? Sooner or later, it's going to be put in. We know that, right? But if thousands of us do it, there's going to be more of it, right? So the more benevolence and the more good data, healthy, ethical data we can, every day when I'm asking it, I'm conscious of what I'm asking it. I'm biased. I'm already biased. We're all biased. So I'm coming in, hey, I'm wanting to get, a good lay of the land of this topic. I want to hear, different points of view on this new topic. Tell me about AI. What are the positives? What are the negatives? How can I influence AI in a positive? Start with curiosity, right? And develop yourself. Be your own guru.
yeah. So from what you are saying, if I'm understanding it well, we have the power to influence AI positively with the data that we give to it.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We are in the driver's seat.
We are in the driver's seat.
We are in the driver's seat, and enterprises are in the driver's seat. We all have a part to play. Even, we think, oh, it's just one voice. It doesn't matter. It's not true, right? A small group of people can move mountains. We know that, right? When we start advocating one person's voice, especially with the global communication system we have of social media, we can reach the far recesses of the earth. In Papua New Guinea, on the treetops, they're talking on cell phones. while they're making the fire.
Yeah.
You know, so this is the technology. We are at this amazing place in humanity right now. We really are. We have it all and way more than we need. Can we just work on those things that matter, like biodiversity and climate change, right? And poverty and hunger. These are the things that matter, that are going to sustain us, right? So I'm actually starting to become involved in a nonprofit, which I will talk about as I become more involved with. But I'm really excited about it, and I think you'd be a great addition to this nonprofit. It's somebody that I know that has asked me to come in and be an advisor. And I think more people like yourselves
Yeah.
and me can like participate.
Definitely. Once
Amazing.
it's for the good of humanity, I'm always open to it. And earlier with the discussions and with your submissions, you kept repeating that no, women, no, which means that they are not being represented. So the opportunity is being given now.
Yeah.
You have the platform.
Yes.
I want you to speak, inspire, and give them the recommendations
Yes.
where they can find resources that is free
Yes.
to expand their consciousness or
Right.
information with AI so that they can augment their skills to leverage on those skills to be informed and adapt the current wave that is
I
ongoing.
love this. I love this. This is a very important aspect of our conversation because women, when you look at the way women use AI and men use AI is very different. Women are already naturally gifted with multitasking. They are more productive. We are more productive than men, and this is not my opinion. It's just facts. And so in a day, in a week, we just cover more, we multitask more. We have different skill set, and men have different skill set, right? That are unique to men, right? And so when I look at women, sometimes women don't use AI because they think their productivity is going to be affected because they might lose their jobs if they suddenly are using AI, right?
Yeah.
So I want to tell those women that are not even intentionally not using AI, I want to encourage them to do it, that their productivity is going to increase. And when time opens up, they can do other more meaningful work. They can climb the corporate ladder if that's what they want. They can add a new project. They can have more time with their kids or more time for themselves, whatever ways they choose. But I encourage them to start and use their curiosity to explore. And also there's so many free resources, free courses to use to learn how to like prompt. And this is work I do, prompt engineering, conversation design. I'm learning how to give it instructions. I ask it to come up with a grocery list, come up with a recipe with the remaining ingredients in my fridge, take a picture and come up with a recipe for me. Suddenly I've cut 1 hour of my precious time as a mom of 4. And now I have 1 hour to get my nails done or to play a game with my kids.
Wonderful, right? Yeah.
So that's an example. And so explore ways that it makes it meaningful and fun for you, because learning without fun is not sustainable.
Learning without fun is unsustainable. Olivera Bay, thank you so much for responding to our invitation.
Thank you so much, Eugene. It's a
Yes.
true pleasure to speak with you today.
Yeah. And I'm hoping for it that we do a series where we can expand on conversational AI to enlighten most people's understanding and where there are gaps so that they will get to understand what is currently unfolding in the world.
I love that. I think we have, our work cut out for us that I will gladly take on with you.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to like more of this time together.
We are in this together.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Again, lovely to have this time with you.